Wow, wow, garter belts. He was a supply officer in a world at war, a man responsible for the logistics of survival. Yet, here he was, agonizing over hosiery, while the looming threat of the Imperial Japanese Navy hung over the horizon like a storm that refused to break. But today, the threat was closer to home. Admiral Iron Pants Rafferty was coming, a man whose name struck fear into the hearts of any officer with a smudge on his record or a civilian in his quarters. And Binghamton's records were nothing but smudges, mostly written in McHale's handwriting. Chapter 1. The Fever of Deception. The decision was born of pure, unadulterated desperation. Binghamton knew that when Rafferty stepped off that transport plane, he wouldn't see a tight, efficient naval operation. He would see the McHale circus. He would see the stills hidden in the mangroves, the gambling rings, and the general lack of Navy way. If he were sick truly, medically incapacitated, he could not be held responsible for the state of the base. He could appoint an acting commander, a sacrificial lamb to lead Rafferty through the mud and the madness. My stomach acid could start a car. Elroy. Binghamton groaned, clutching his midsection as he leaned back in his chair. Elroy Carpenter, his loyal but perpetually terrified aide, looked on with genuine concern. Please, sir, take it easy on those pills. You know how they always give you that terrible indigestion. Your face is turning a shade of purple I've only seen on tropical fruit. I don't care, Binghamton shouted, then winced as the sound echoed in his skull like a depth charge. If I am sick, someone else faces the Admiral. Someone who deserves the headache. Someone like McHale. The name tasted like copper and salt in his mouth. McHale, the saltwater skipper, with a crew of cutthroats and a smile that suggested he knew exactly which rules were being broken, by whom, and where the evidence was buried. To put McHale in charge was a risk, but in Binghamton's fevered mind, it was a stroke of genius. Under the cold, unwavering scrutiny of Iron Pants, McHale would surely hang himself with his own disregard for protocol. When McHale arrived at the infirmary, he found the room dimmed. Binghamton was draped in a silk robe, an unauthorized luxury looking remarkably healthy despite his theatrical gasps for air. Oh, McHale, Binghamton wheezed, his eyes rolling back slightly. It's the tropical fever. Or perhaps the burden of command. I'm in bad shape. The doctors, they talk in whispers. I haven't got any answers yet. McHale, ever the opportunist and a master of the long game, saw the shadow of the play immediately. He adjusted the pillow behind the captain's head with a mock tenderness that bordered on the insulting. Don't you worry, Captain. You just rest. The Navy needs you at your best. Lieutenant Carpenter and I will handle everything. We'll keep things quiet. No, Binghamton gasped, pushing a confused Carpenter aside. Carpenter is a boob. A well-meaning boob, but a boob nonetheless. I am appointing you acting base commander, McHale, and Parker, here. Ensign Charles Parker's eyes widened behind his thick, fogged-up spectacles. He looked like a man who had just been handed a live grenade with the pin already pulled. It was the promotion of a lifetime or a death sentence in the making. As they left the cool shadows of the infirmary, the tropical sun hit them with the force of a physical blow. McHale looked at Parker, the weight of the entire base suddenly pressing down on their shoulders. But in McHale's eyes, there was a spark of something dangerous. Taratupa was about to become the most unorthodox command in the history of the Pacific. Chapter 2. The Sultan and the Moon. War is often defined by its interruptions, those strange moments of beauty or absurdity that puncture the grim reality of combat. The news of a VIP arrival shattered the brief, chaotic peace McHale had established. Sultan Karim of Marami and his 3 daughters were being evacuated from their island kingdom through Taratupa. To Binghamton, still recovering and watching through a telescope from his ward, it was another chance to shine, or rather, a chance for McHale to fail in front of international royalty. To the crew of the PT-73, however, it was a glimpse of a world they had almost forgotten, a world of royalty, grace, and silk that didn't smell of diesel and sweat. When the 73 boat pulled alongside the Sultan's ornate, battle-scarred craft, the air itself seemed to change. The crew, usually a rowdy bunch of grease-stained sailors who communicated primarily in grunts and sea shanties, fell into a stunned silence. Standing on the deck were three women who seemed carved from the moonlight itself, their veils fluttering in the breeze like the wings of exotic birds. Virgil Edwards, the boat's resident heartthrob, and a man who believed he had seen everything the world had to offer, found his breath hitched in his throat. His eyes met those of the youngest daughter, Princess Siri. She was vibrant, her dark eyes possessing a rebellious fire that suggested she was more comfortable on a moving deck than in a gilded cage. "Greetings, Your Highness," McHale said, his voice dropping an octave into a tone of genuine respect. "I am Commander McHale. We are here to ensure your safety and provide whatever comfort we can." "Your men," the Sultan said, his voice like rolling thunder, heavy with the weight of his lost kingdom. "Are they to be trusted with such priceless cargo?" "My daughters are the heart of Marami." "With my life, sir," McHale promised. And for once, there was no trace of irony in his voice. The journey back to the base was a delicate, silent dance. While the Sultan marveled at the raw, mechanical speed of the PT boat, Virgil and Siri shared a silent language of glances and half-smiles across the deck. It was a dangerous game, played for the highest stakes. In Marami, a commoner looking at a princess was a crime punishable by death. In the United States Navy, a sailor fraternizing with a high-level royal guest was a fast track to a court-martial. But the Pacific moon is a powerful, reckless aphrodisiac. That night, after the Sultan had been settled into the base's best quarters, formerly Binghamton's office, the air turned thick with the scent of night-blooming jasmine. Under the guise of showing the princess the nomenclature of the boat, Virgil and Siri slipped away to the edge of the lagoon, where the water reflected the stars like a field of fallen diamonds. "My father says the Americans are loud, like the engines of their ships," Siri whispered, her English perfect, melodic, and tinted with an accent Virgil couldn't place. "But you are quiet. You look at me as if you are seeing a ghost." "I'm just stunned," Virgil admitted, the salt spray catching in his hair and the light of the moon making him look like the hero of one of the films Ginger might have starred in. "I didn't think someone like you existed outside of a storybook. I've been in this war so long, I forgot that beauty could be real." "I am not a story, Virgil," she said, stepping closer, her hand grazing the rough fabric of his uniform. "I am a woman trapped in a war I did not ask for, being moved from one cage to another. Tell me, is there anywhere in this world where a princess can just be a girl?" They were two souls from vastly different worlds, united by the shared, unspoken fear of the tomorrow that the war promised. For a brief moment, the distant, low rumble of heavy artillery on the horizon was replaced by the soft lapping of the waves against the hull of the 73. It was a moment of peace they both knew was a lie, but for one night they were willing to believe it. Chapter 3. The Masquerade of Lester Gruber. While Virgil pursued a princess in the moonlight, Lester Gruber was facing a crisis of a much more terrestrial and arguably more terrifying sort. Gruber was a man of many hidden talents, mostly involving the acquisition of things that didn't strictly belong to him and the fabrication of elaborate backstories. But his greatest weakness was a girl back in Brooklyn named Ginger. Ginger was a performer, a dancer with a heart of gold, a laugh that could be heard over a subway train, and a dream of a man in a crisp officer's uniform. In his letters, Gruber hadn't exactly been truthful. He wasn't a seaman apprentice who spent his days scrubbing decks. He was, according to his custom-printed stationery, Lieutenant Commander Lester Snookums Gruber, a war hero with a chest full of medals and a direct line to the Admiral. The lie had been safe across 6,000 miles of ocean. But then, the service show arrived on Taratupa, and headlining the show, center stage, and radiant, was Ginger. "Skip, you gotta help me. This is an emergency of national security," Gruber wailed in McHale's office, clutching a crumpled photo of the beautiful brunette. "If she sees me in these greasy dungarees, I'm a dead man. I'll be living in a cardboard box under the Brooklyn Bridge by the time the war is over. McHale